Hello there, kia ora. Hey look, we all know that the National Party, especially in their social media comms, they just straight up mislead everybody. They do it on a fairly regular basis, and they do it in a number of ways. Like they might omit information, or they selectively pick data points. Their 49,000 fewer victims of violent crime is actually because they set the benchmark in cabinet and then decided what that benchmark was. There's so many problems with a lot of their claims. Like this one, actually. This is one of my favourite, most recent claims that they've made about prescription medication, that they've lowered the cost of it. It was free. Before they were elected, everybody got free prescription medication because that actually helps long-term in keeping the costs down and the pressure off our emergency services at hospitals. But they put the cost back on, they reintroduced the fees for most people, and now they're lowering it again and telling you that it's a good thing. They're telling you should be appreciative of them lowering the cost that they put back on. I mean, that's National Party logic, and there are going to be people in the National Party who drink that Kool-Aid and don't ask questions like, why is my thing that was free now more expensive than that, and I'm being told I have to accept that as a win? Anyway, one of the other things that the National Party is really good at on their social media feed is trying to tell people that they're the party of no new taxes. Remember, that's Labour. Labour's going to tax you, the Greens are going to ask for taxes, and they are conspiring together to tax everything from you. So National would never do that. Anyway, this is a Star Trek Delta. This is actually the Delta worn by Kate Mulgrew. Well, the type of Delta, not her actual Delta, but it was worn by Kate Mulgrew in Voyager when the Voyager got stuck on the other side of the Delta Quadrant and they had to find their way home. There was Borg, it was a whole big thing. And I got that in because Armageddon is coming up at the end of this month and I wanted to get in the mood. But they don't sell that here, so I had to go overseas and have that imported. And it's not a huge expense, but it did cost me an extra $2.20 plus GST to bring it in because I got it in this side of April when a new customs levy had been introduced. Now this customs levy is designed really specifically to go back to customs to help them fight against, I don't know, illicit drugs or weapons or giant murder hornets from packing up and moving into the country. And again, that's fine. That is a good thing for my money to be spent on because that's how taxes work. We get taxed and the government spends it on making sure things happen in our communities. But this is the government that told us no new taxes. This is the government that said tax bad. And yes, this is a levy, but a levy is just a tax with a specifically targeted aim of where that money is going. I thought we had sorted that over the whole LNG thing. There's a whole bunch of different taxes and levies that have been introduced by this government because that's how governments make their money to pay for things that we as a society use. So when you see the coalitions that they're going, we're the party of less tax, which, you know, they did cut taxes and then ended up not having enough money to do everything they needed to do and started borrowing to pay for the day-to-day operations, which they were told by credit companies was a really bad thing to do, but they did it anyway. When they tell you that they're the party of less taxes, company does sound right the way they run things, the party of less taxes, they're lying, they're wrong, and it's deliberately misleading. And we should all be really aware of those kind of tricks happening all the time in the social media feeds from our big political parties. And if you're concerned about this, there is actually a way that you can fix this. Vote for anybody else. And you can't do that this year if you're not registered to vote before this year's election period kicks off, which is actually, I think it's Labour weekend this year, which is when the next Armageddon is. But if you are not registered to vote by that time, your details are not up to date, you don't get to vote because there's no same-day enrolments. And that's really bad. That's disenfranchising people. That's making it harder for people to vote, which is always a bad thing in what this government has done, which went against the Attorney General's suggestion that this was going to be a breach of human rights. But again, they don't give a shit. They did it anyway. And you're the one who's going to suffer if you don't check your enrolment details at vote.nz. And make sure you know what you're paying in terms of taxes and fees and levies and where they're going. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Because if my $2 extra here helps somebody get free prescription meds to be healthier, live longer, then I'm all for that. I don't see why anybody else wouldn't be, unless they're drinking that Nat Kool-Aid.